The kitchen smelled like burnt toast and the faint lavender soap Hera always used on her hands. Rain hammered the windows of our little craftsman house in Portland, turning the glass into a blurred mirror of my own stunned face. I stood there with the car keys still warm in my palm, suitcase half-zipped by the door, when her voice sliced through the downpour. "Don't even think about taking the kids," she said. Flat as winter pavement. Her eyes, those pale gray eyes I'd once called storm cloud beautiful, didn't blink. I let out a slow breath that fogged the air between us. The fridge hummed louder than usual, like it was holding its own breath too. Mia's crayon drawing of our family, 2 stick-figure moms, 2 little girls. Crooked hearts everywhere, fluttered under the magnet. How many nights had we stood in this exact spot, laughing until the girls begged for one more story? Now the laughter felt like it belonged to someone else's life. Hera turned back to the counter, wiping the same spot over and over with a dish towel that had seen better days. Her shoulders were straight, the way they got when she was pretending the world couldn't touch her. I watched the tiny muscle jump in her jaw and wondered when that armor had become her everyday skin. The girls were upstairs, supposedly asleep, but I could hear Lily's muffled giggle through the ceiling, probably sneaking a flashlight under the covers again. Hera's hand paused mid-wipe. She heard it too. For half a second her expression softened, just enough that my chest ached with the memory of the woman who used to chase them around the living room roaring like a tickle monster. Then the mask snapped back. I set the keys down harder than I meant to. The clink echoed. "Hera. I need space. For all of us." My voice cracked on the last word. She didn't look up. The rain kept drumming. Relentless. What came next? That night I lay on the couch in the living room. The old Afghan pulled up to my chin even though the heat was on. The house creaked in the wind the way old houses do, settling into itself like it was trying to hold us together. I could smell Hera's shampoo drifting down from the bedroom, something citrus and sharp that always reminded me of the first summer we spent driving up the Oregon coast with the windows down. Back when everything felt possible. Morning light crept in gray and hesitant. I found Hera in the kitchen again, pouring coffee into 2 mugs out of habit. She slid one toward me without meeting my eyes. Steam curled up between us like a question neither of us wanted to answer. "Mia has soccer at 10, she said quietly. "Don't forget her shin guards." Her fingers brushed mine when I took the mug. The touch was gone before I could register the warmth. I watched her over the rim of my coffee. She wore the same gray sweater she'd had since law school, sleeves pushed up to her elbows, revealing the thin white scar on her forearm from the car accident we'd survived together 8 years ago. The one she never talked about anymore. The girls tumbled downstairs like a small hurricane, Lily with bedhead and mismatched socks, Mia already demanding pancakes. For 20 minutes the kitchen filled with chatter and syrup and the clatter of plastic plates. Hera smiled at them. Small and real. Whole day feel lit from inside. When Lily climbed into her lap and smeared sticky fingers across her cheek, Hera didn't flinch. She just held her tighter. I looked away before the lump in my throat could spill over. Later, after drop-off at school, the house felt too big. I stood at the sink washing the same plate for the 3rd time. Hera appeared in the doorway, arms folded again. "You're really doing this," she said. Not a question. The words hung there, heavy as the rain outside. I nodded once. Not trusting my voice. She exhaled through her nose. A sound so small I almost missed it. Then she walked away. That afternoon I sat on the front porch steps, the wood cold through my jeans. Fallen leaves skittered across the lawn in the wind. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old photos, us at Pride in 2018, Hera laughing with rainbow paint on her cheeks. The girls tiny and strapped to our chests in carriers. How had we gone from that to this careful distance where even eye contact felt dangerous? The door creaked behind me. Hera stepped out with 2 mugs this time, hot chocolate. Not coffee. She handed me one and sat on the step below mine. Close enough that our knees almost touched. The steam carried the scent of cocoa and the faint trace of her skin. Neither of us spoke for a long minute. The wind rustled the maple tree like it was whispering secrets we'd forgotten how to share. I keep thinking about the night Lily was born, I said finally. You held my hand so tight I thought you'd break it. You whispered you were scared you'd mess her up. Hera's shoulders lifted in the smallest shrug. I still am, she answered. So softly the words almost got lost in the leaves. I turned to look at her profile. The late sun caught the silver threading through her dark hair, new since last year. Then why does it feel like you're already gone? The question slipped out before I could stop it. She stared at the street. Jaw tight. Tires hissing on wet pavement. Because trusting people gets you hurt. Freya. Her voice was flat. But I heard the crack underneath. She set her mug down and rubbed her scar absently. I don't trust anyone. Not even myself with them. The words landed like stones in still water. I felt them ripple through my chest. I reached out before I could think better of it. My fingers brushed the back of her hand where it rested on her knee. She didn't pull away. The contact was light, almost accidental. But it sent a spark up my arm that had nothing to do with the cold. For once she let the silence stretch instead of filling it with lawyer-sharp logic. That evening we cooked dinner together for the first time in months. The kitchen filled with the sizzle of onions and the low murmur of the radio playing some old indie song we both used to love. Our elbows bumped while we chopped vegetables. Each time it happened, the air between us felt a little less brittle. Lily insisted on helping, standing on a stool between us. And Hera's hand steadied her shoulder with a gentleness that made my eyes sting. After the girls were tucked in, stories read, lights out. One last kiss on each forehead, we ended up on the couch. The TV was off. Just the lamp glowing warm on the coffee table and the faint tick of the wall clock. Hera's leg pressed against mine. I could feel the heat through both our jeans. She stared at the carpet like it held answers. I've been fighting my parents behind your back, she said suddenly. Her voice was raw. They want the girls. They've been threatening to use the fact that we're us against us in court. I thought if I stayed cold, stayed distant, weakness, keep you from getting pulled into the fight. She laughed once. Bitter and short. Turns out I just pushed you away instead. My heart stuttered. The room smelled like the lavender candle she'd lit earlier. The one that always reminded me of our first apartment. I turned toward her fully. Hera, why didn't you tell me? She looked at me then, really looked, and the storm in her eyes was no longer just ice. It was everything she'd been carrying alone. Because I was terrified you'd leave anyway. Her hand found mine this time, deliberate. Fingers laced tight. The touch grounded me and unraveled me at the same time. I could feel the slight tremor in her palm. We sat like that for what felt like hours but was probably minutes. The house settled around us. The girl's soft breathing drifting down the stairs. I leaned in until our foreheads touched. Her breath ghosted across my lips, warm. Shaky. Bird. Or them. Or us. She closed the last inch. The kiss was soft at first. Almost careful. Like we were both afraid the other might disappear. Then it deepened. Tasting of hot chocolate and years of unsaid things. Her hand slid to the back of my neck, thumb tracing the line of my jaw. I sighed into her mouth, the sound lost between us. When we pulled apart, her eyes were wet. The next morning the tension didn't vanish. It never does in real life. We still had lawyers' letters waiting in the mail. Still had the echo of my half-packed suitcase by the door. But when Hera made coffee, she brushed a kiss against my temple like it was the most natural thing in the world. The girls noticed the difference immediately. Mia asked if we were happy again while eating cereal. I didn't know how to answer that. We sat down that afternoon with the girls playing in the next room and talked, really talked, for the first time in too long. Hera laid out the legal threats. The emails from her father. The way she'd been losing sleep for months. I told her how her coldness had felt like drowning in silence. We didn't solve everything. There were still sharp edges. Still nights I'd probably lie awake wondering if love was enough. But we made a choice right there on the couch where we'd kissed the night before. We would fight the custody nonsense together, as a family. No more solo armor. No more secret suitcases. Weeks blurred after that. Court dates. Stolen kisses in the kitchen when the girls weren't looking. Hera still had her moments of distance. She'd go quiet when the stress piled up. Stare out the window like she was calculating escape routes. I still felt the old fear creep in some mornings. But we learned to reach across the space now. A hand on the small of her back. A quiet "I'm here" whispered against her hair. The micro-tensions didn't disappear, they just became part of the rhythm instead of the breaking point. One rainy evening, much like the first, I found Hera in the girls' room after bedtime. Sitting on the floor between their beds. She was reading the worn copy of Goodnight Moon we'd bought the week Mia was born. Her voice was low and steady. The way it used to be. Lily's small hand rested on her knee. Mia was already asleep. Thumb in mouth. I leaned against the doorframe and watched. Chest tight with something too big for words. When she finished, the smile she gave me then wasn't the careful one she used for the world. It was the real one, tired. A little cracked at the edges. But entirely hers. I crossed the room and knelt beside her. Our shoulders touched. The scent of lavender and little kid shampoo wrapped around us like a blanket. I almost lost you, she said. So quietly I felt it more than heard it. You didn't, I answered, we're still here. Outside. Softer now. Inside. But this time it felt like hope instead of dread. We weren't fixed. We weren't some perfect Instagram family with matching sweaters and zero fights. We were two women who had built a life together, cracked it open. And chosen, day after messy day, to keep building anyway. Some nights I still catch myself wondering what would have happened if I'd walked out that first morning. Would the girls have understood? Would Hera have let them go? I don't know. And I'm glad I never had to find out. Because in the end the choice wasn't between my identity and my emotion, it was realizing they were the same thread running through everything I loved. Hera's hand finds mine in the dark more often now. Sometimes we don't say anything at all. We just breathe the same air and let the house creak around us, settling into whatever comes next. It's not the fairy tale ending. It's better. It's real. And for the first time in months, that feels like enough.